everybody, good afternoon. It seems a bit strange doing this in the afternoon, but it's lovely to have your company. Hope you've all got a cup of tea and you're all really settled. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you, I'm being a little bit naughty really, but I'm going to give you a little sneaky peek of something that we don't launch until tomorrow. I actually want to give you a on a couple of different things that you can do with this kit. So that's one of the things. And then the other thing is I want to talk about colour and tone. And then I'm also going to show you a couple of other little things with die cutting. You might be wondering about my DIY plasters that I've got. Well, I've had a bit of an emergency and it's to go with my DIY manicure. So what's happened is I bought some stuff online because, you know, the hairdressers are actually not open yet and nail salons aren't opening. So I did a little bit of a manicure, and because I'd been using these stick-on nails and they're not all I didn't have them all the same. So they're all slightly different colours. So they're like this and they've got white tips, but they weren't all the same. So I put this colour over the top of them. But the glue that I'd got, I thought I would be a bit of a spendthrift, and I was saving money and I didn't buy the new glue. So I was using the old glue and it's not that good. And so I've had a little bit of a disaster. Rather than substitute to it, I thought I'd make myself some little plasters, which I thought looked quite cute. This is using washi tape, by the way, because it's actually quite flexible. Right, so let's talk about Pinewood Party. This is the best bit of fun that I have done with the craft kit for a very, very long time. And it is the cutest set of characters. So first of all, I'm going to show you a couple of the bigger designs. So there are 3 sets here. And so you've got Freddy Fox and this great big lovely wreath. Then you've got the fox, and you've got, so I've got an inside die, a foundation die. I've got the decoration that goes on the top, and then I've got the split unity, and I've also got some piece of decoupage. Then on this one, this is our Hetty hedgehog, and this is the little hedgehog and all the different elements that go with that one. That's the oval. And then I've also got here the little bunny rabbit. And I'm just going to show you a couple of the designs that I've got, and because I'm going to be making these with you. So first of all, so Hetty, I'm just going to show you this. This is how pretty the artwork is. It's just so pretty. And then there's our little hedgehog, our little fox. Oh my gosh, I just called him a hedgehog. He's a fox. Do you know what I once did? I had, I can't tell you, you won't tell anybody. I had an accident in my car once. It was probably about a year ago, and I was driving to Peterborough quite late at night, and a fox ran out in the road. I have never been so upset in all my life. The poor little thing, it was just, oh, it was so sad. And so I had to go all the way up the road, turn round, go all the way back to the roundabout to try and see if I'd hurt it, because I'd heard the thud. I got all the way back down. I couldn't find this blinking fox, and it was getting dark, and I looked everywhere. And I phoned Carl up and I said, I can't find the fox. And he said, don't get back in your car. He said, if you've hurt it, it might bite you. So I got back in the car, and then I got to Peterborough, and I was just so upset about it. And then the next morning I went and had a look at my car. The car had to go into the garage. I needed a whole new bumper and a new headlight, and I never did find the fox. Blinking thing ran off. So I think I hurt him, but he was okay enough to run away. So anyway, yeah, that was a good one. That got me a nice little garage job. And actually, that was the other problem. Nobody wants to follow me in the car anymore. Because then, a few weeks before that, this piece of metal had fallen off a lorry in front of me, and it had caught the side of the car and dented the door, and I felt it happen. And so Carl had to take it to the garage. So when he took it, I forgot about this, it just reminded me. So when he took the car for the second time to get the fox fixed, not the fox, but the damage the fox did, the man went, oh, don't worry, it's all right, we've still got the paint from the last job. So he knocked us 50 quid off. I've just remembered that. Right, so here's the little bunnies. So this is a new set that we've got. Then we've got one too many. Now it's not one too many of drinks, it's one too many spoonfuls of something yummy. Then this one is shake and share. So got a little bunny line at the front waiting for his turn. This one is bunny umbrella, and actually, do you know, because I've got them all here, I'm going to show you them as I do them. So this one is here. This is cute. Look at this. So that's the first one. So that's our bunny, and if I do this, you'll see them better. So that's the bunny with one too many. Then I've got the next one, which is shake and share. So that's the next one. Then I've got bunny umbrella. This one's one of my favourites. So that one's bunny umbrella, and I love the way she's got a little flower, and he's got his little paddling, his little paddle there. Then the next one that I've got is on the unicycle, and this one is Countryside Adventures. Whoops. So there's a little fox going on his adventures. I'll just take that one off. Then I've got, this is Tea Party, and this one is here. So it's that one. That's a little tea party. And oh, this is a really, really good one. So this is all about the party accessories. So the little jars hanging down, the little fairy lights, the little hats. Think about this. This is what I love about die cutting. Each of these little hats we could turn upside down. They could become bunting flags. And then the little bits of greenery could thread through the trees, through the lights, so it looks like it's in the trees. Could look really clever. So that's another one. Then this one is called Time for Tea. And here we've got, and this is where having a foundation die really works, because the foundation die would mean that your background can be cut out, and you can put any colour behind, so that's really useful. The next one that I've got is called Bubble Party, and I'm just going to show you these because he's catching bubbles, which is really cute. But there's more to this one, because they're playing on the bridge, catching bubbles, and then you've actually got the bubbles themselves. Now, if you cut this, all of those little bubbles will stay in the card, so that's going to look really, really clever. So that's that one. Then this one was called a daisy river instead of a lazy river, and I'll show you that one. So that one's really cute. That looks fun. And then I've got, I've got an aperture leaf, which I'll show you in a minute. Animal Parade, one of my favourites. So here are the animals. So we've got the little bear, and then I've got the little fox there, and there's a bunny playing a trumpet. But that trumpet could be blowing the bubbles. So could you imagine how much fun this is with all of these different elements? And I'm going to build up some compositions. So I want to show you a few different things. I want to teach you about composition, show you how you link all your different dies. But I'm just going to share a couple of other things as well. So first of all, this is the cardstock that goes with it. So you'll see how the colours have been chosen. So the lavenders, so that they go with the waters that we've got here. Also go with the umbrellas. Then needed a neutral shade, one that would go with all their fur, so it doesn't look different when you actually change the colours. It really makes a difference. And put it onto the pink, and then bring in the dark green, and you've been seeing the turquoise, and then see how that green really works when it just changes it enormously when you see the way that these sit on the colour. And if I then change it again, there's a very pale blue. It really sort of makes it stand out. Excuse me, stand out. Then we've got the turquoise, then I've got the purple, and then we come into the neutral shades. Really changes it. Makes this look a lot more masculine if I do that. And then I come on to the pink and it becomes quite pretty and feminine again. Okay, so that's all of those. But I think the best bit of this kit is the backgrounds, and I haven't even shown you those. So I'll put these out of the way and then let me show you this. So these are some of the pieces that are on the USB. And look at them. Oh my gosh, how fab are these? So you can cut into them and then you can have, so there she is there, look, with the tree in the background or wood in the kitchen and all of the fun elements outside. I'm gonna just change it and bring in this one. And here I've got my bunnies that are going to sit and make daisy chains. And this has been really carefully designed so that we can have these 3 bunnies and then we can take these 2 off and we can put those to the front so we can change the perspective on that one. I'll pick another one to show you. I'm just looking for one that's got a little bit of a different colour. In fact, let me show you, I'll show you them all quickly and then so you can see these are what they look like. And they're really, really sort of a little bit Disney-esque, that sort of style, a little bit of fantasy in here. And you'll see there's some of them are slightly different sizes. I've cropped into some of the pages for you, made them look so that this one, again, this would look so different with the bunnies actually there, with the daisies. And I've got the flowers and the little roads and the sky and the house and the trees and upside down that way. Okay, so they're the start of the designs, and I'm just going to put a couple of cards together and then I'm going to teach you some other elements that I think are really going to be really useful to us. So first of all, when you do your card shapes, your shaped cards, now most of the time when we're working, we have got a die that will work for a shaped card. And so I'll slide this out here. And I've put a new magnetic shim on today, and I've only got A5 ones, so I've just glued it together so that will protect it. And I've got, these are the dies. So I've got one that's going to give me quite interesting apertures. I've got one that will give me my lovely frame, my delicate frame. I've got another one that if I put the 2 of those together, and obviously I line that up, and the way that you do that, if I lift out the central one to start with, let me just get my pokey tool so I can lift it up. My DIY plasters are not working very well. So I'm going to put that in place there, and then I layer on the next die, make sure that I'm happy with the positioning of it, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to hold my first die down. I'm going to come in and I'm just going to lift that out cleanly, and that then will allow me to create my frame that I've got here. So that's how you're going to create the frame that you've got. Now you can, when you do this, so let me see which way this would go that way over. You can see how that will sit in there. So when you do this, the different shapes that we've got, now, just to recap then, that's my shaped card, or this could be. This could be cutting an aperture out of my shaped card, or cutting my foundation. If I'm cutting my aperture, I might want to take this away and cut that out of just a regular card blank. I can also cut this part of it away, and it leaves me with a very, very fine border that I've got there, which I might want to use occasionally as a shadow. So that actually works quite nicely. And then I'm still left with 2 dies. So in each, or 2 of the frame dies, and in each collection you've got an animal, an outline, a foundation for your card shape, an aperture card, a decorative layer, and then these 2 over the edge dies, these 2 unity dies. So I'm just going to lift these out the way, and I'm going to show you these. So these are my 2 unity, and you think about which way up you want these to be. So I would still get my leaves and just check that I'm working and I've got everything in the right place and it lines up, so that gives you an idea of which way up you're going to have your leaves, because you may want a bigger border at the bottom of your card than the top. So with my unity, so let's take this out of the way, I'm going to take a piece of cardstock. So I've just got a piece of cardstock like this, and the first thing that I like to do is actually fold my cardstock in half. Now what you'll find is, and I'm going to do this way because I want to show you how much we've managed to improve the quality of our cardstock. I'm so pleased about this because I've just creased that using my sticky plaster finger, and it's creased it absolutely beautifully, and my cardstock hasn't cracked and the ink hasn't cracked. So we've actually adapted it, and we've put on a different ink now, which is great. And what I like to do is I would cut myself a blank. So let's pretend that we're not going to be using this on the card, although I will. And this is actually a blank, and I've done it so that I can see what it's going to look like and how it's going to balance. So then when I take my unity die, which I'm going to take from these, I'm going to check which one it is to make sure I get the right one. So it's not that one, because that clearly goes there. So it's this one. So when I take my unity die, which I place there, move that out of the way because we don't need it, I can check where my frame's going to go. So I'm looking at this frame first. I'm then looking at the unity piece, making sure that it's all lined up. I think that this all wants rotating slightly so that it's more level. So that would go there. And then the next thing that I do is I check that I've got the whole thing level. So I'm just going to take this piece of card and I'm just going to put it so that the edges of the cardstock are parallel. And I'm going to pull it back slightly, just making sure, just check that I've got this piece and this piece level, which I have. Now you could do this just by checking that distance, but I like to use a piece of card because it just gets the perspective in position. You'll notice I'm also working on the right side of the card. So I've actually got the die face down as if it was going onto a piece of charisma. And I'm now going to just stick it in place. So I'm just going to stick this down like this. And then I'm going to turn that over and I'm going to pass it through my die cutting machine. And I need that plate there, goes on top, and that's just going to pass through. And there's a lot of Tattered Lace dies that have unity, and we don't use them very often, so I want to get you into using them, because over the next few months I'm going to be showing lots more different ways of using these and creating new card shapes as well, so it's quite exciting. And this is one in particular that I think you'll really like. Okay, so now what I've got here is I'll just take my tape off and we save that there, and we save that bit, and I'm just going to lift this piece. That's what happens when it's absolutely new tape. So I even save the little bits. What's the smallest piece of paper you save at home? I have a little jar and I have all my inch pieces in it. Inchies? These save the really, really small ones, which is brilliant. Right, now, so what I'm going to do now is I'm now going to cut. So I'm going to cut there and there. But before I do, I want you to think about this. If I were to fold this back, this could be a decorative stepper. So I could be starting to create decorative steppers, and that's the kind of thing that I think that you will absolutely love. So instead of it being just an ordinary card, it becomes a decorative stepper. In fact, let me show you, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to fold this piece up, and then I'm going to fold it down. Actually, no, I need to do it this way. I'm going to fold it down in half, there, and then let's go down there, and then I need to fold you in half. There, score yours, don't do it the way I'm doing it, because this isn't the best way of getting the best result. And then I need to bring that line right down there, so okay, right, oops. So can you see how we're creating our decorative stepper? So we've got a lovely decorative edge at the top there, and that then lends itself to us doing this, where you then put the design on the top, and then I do this and I put my wreath on the top, and then I can have my bunnies and my little hedgehog, and I can have these here, and my tea party with my tea party there, and my little hedgehog in the background. Put him in behind. Can you see how you can build up the design and you get the different effects? So we can have a unicycle to the side and little bits of stuff going on, so you can actually build up your pictures, but that's how you get your the top of it to a decorative stepper. Right, so I'm going to go back to the original design now, so folding that all back, and this piece, to make our over the edge card, needs trimming off. So top and bottom, or whichever way round you want to do it, that gets trimmed off. That wouldn't have been creased. And then we go back and we put this die on, which I think will go on, way up are you? I'm going to go that way. Like, and I then work out where my goes, which will be there. I hold down the aperture and put tape to put that in place, and then that gets cut. So you'll end up with this. And it is important to put it on the face, because the one thing about die cutting, and I wonder if I've got a pen, I can show you this. I've got to be using one somewhere. Otherwise, I know what I can do. I can do it with, oh yeah, actually we've got one, here we go. So, right, so let me use this bit of scrap to show you. So if you imagine a die is made up of a piece of metal, so that's the base, so that's this bit, and this piece is the raised area. So these little raised edges, so this is magnified trillions of times. And then what we do then is we spray this with a non-stick coating. So it gets sprayed. So as the paint goes on, it coats it like this, and you get a coating, a really even coating of the paint, and it comes like this. But when it gets into the corner, because of the way the molecules of paint are, you end up with a little curve there. So instead of it being absolutely like that, which is just a real straight angle, it's like that. And what that does is it means that when you die cut something, you end up with the edges going just over and being lovely and soft and smooth. And I'll show you what I mean by putting a snip in, and I'm just going to put a snip in somewhere where there's no tape. I can feel it here. So if I put that snip in, what you've got there is I've got a very blunt, straight line, and occasionally you can actually see white cardstock when it's not a coloured core. And that's why that edge where it just goes over the edge, and it means that it gives you that little bit of a curve, it makes such a difference, and that's what makes die cutting look so professional as well. Okay, so I'm now going to assemble this little card that I've got, and I've got a background. So I've got one of the backgrounds from part of the designs, and I've only shown you a fraction of the designs that you're getting in this collection. I could share with you another little tip as well. And so if I wanted to put this in here, and I want to have it so that I've got a really, let's say, a different style, a different look. So let's have a look at some of the designs that I've got. So I can play with them and swap them and choose a different design. So I'm going to I'll pick this one, and it only will work when you've got a white edge on your card. Now, even if you're really, really good with a pair of scissors, when I come to cut against this edge that I've got here, the chances of me getting that absolutely perfect, so no white, none of the green, are pretty remote. Now I'm really good at cutting out because I've had a lot of practice, and I don't mean that to say that in a, you know, oh, I'm really clever kind of way. It's just, if you've cut as many lines as I've cut, you'd be good at it too. Perhaps you have, perhaps you are. But to get that is quite difficult. And so I'm just going to cut it so it isn't quite perfect. And I'm going to do it along this edge here. So most of us, if we're cutting out, it will be like that, and it looks straight until you put it up against a piece of white card and you see there that it's not perfect. So if I was trying to cut this out to fit inside here like this, having an edge that's not absolutely perfect with a guillotine is going to look really ugly. So the trick is you take your piece of card, and I'll have to go back to the one I was going to use originally. You take your piece of card and you line it up so that that white edge is to the score line. So it's not over it, it's up to it. Then what we do is, and I'll just get, oh, you're a bit runny, a bit of my glue. Needed a bit of a shake up on here, so I'll just do a bit of this to get this all perfect. Right, so then I'm going to take this and I'm going to line it up to that edge. Okay, so now that edge looks absolutely perfectly straight and you don't know any different. When I then turn this over, I'm cutting against the card. It's so much easier to cut because it almost acts like a butt bar to stop your scissors moving. So I can cut right up to the edge of my cardstock and end up with it looking absolutely perfect. So I'm going to keep going, but I just want to show you what that looks like against the plain piece. Look how perfect that looks. And that's because I've used the back of the card as a guide. So turn it over, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So I'm feeling the edge of the card as I'm working, so it's butting up against it, and I'm just cutting my design. There we go. And that's another little thing. If you run your finger like this along the edge, you can feel if any of it's not perfect. And that's a good little trick too. So keep going along here. I also like to work with slightly bigger scissors. I don't know what I've done with them, but bigger scissors are really good for you. So, oops. I've got something to tell you that's naughty. Oh gosh, I've just caused the biggest load of trouble going. Oh. So I found out a little while ago that something's come up tomorrow, and I can't actually, I've got to have an x-ray on my hip, so I can't actually be in Peterborough. So I've been dead happy all lockdown because my consultant's been ringing me, and of course when he rings he asks me all these questions, and he's like, I have to sit on the edge of the chair and talk about what it feels like when I'm lifting my leg and all those kind of things. And I know I'm not the only one that's had consultations over the phone, but do you know what's made me so happy is he can't weigh me. And so I've been able to, over the phone, are you being good? Yes, yes. Well, of course I haven't been. I've been like everybody else has, well, most people. So I've been putting it off and putting it off, but I got a call and I'm not allowed to put it off any longer. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be in Peterborough. And this launches tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. And I'm gutted because I love it. I just absolutely love it. So I made a sneaky little phone call, and I phoned somebody who I knew could help, but I sort of didn't make the calls in the right order. But I figured, somebody once told me, it's better to ask for forgiveness than not do something at all. So I took that tact. So I've asked them to load the stock for tomorrow night's show now. And it's actually on Crate and Craft now, and the price has dropped already, and it's already on there. And I asked them to get 4 flexies on it. So you've got 4 flexies, and the stock's there, and you can see it right now. And don't tell anybody, please, because I want to get you to have the chance to see it first before anybody else. Right, so let's do this now. Yeah, it's been a bit of one of those weeks really. So the disaster with the nails, and of course I've got my hair you don't even want to even think about, because I've trimmed it myself, and it's like as many different lengths as possible. It looks layered but not in the right places. Poor old Dawn Wheeler, she's a hairdresser. She's desperate to give everybody a trim, but of course we're not allowed because of lockdown. So her hair looks amazing because she's been doing her own, but nobody else's. She's tried to give us all lessons from Adore on what to cut. I think I've nearly given her heart failure because mine is so bad, but I'm just not worrying about it. You know what it'll be, won't it? So right, there we go. So that's the frame on top of there. I can't remember why I was telling you that now. Oh yeah, I was thinking about my nails, I think. And then it's the wrong one. We've had this conversation at work about whether I should be tidier, and I've sort of just decided I'm not and can't be and don't know how, and I think that is where we've got to. Right, so when you're lining these up, you need to think about what you're going to put where, and pick a piece to start to line it up with. So on here, the pieces that stand out the most to me are not these, because I've got 2 of those, but I've got this one big area here. So I'm looking for, on my leaves, where's the biggest area, and it's this piece at the top. So that automatically lends me to be putting it like this. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll put the glue onto here. Ooh, you are a bit runny. Just squeeze a bit out. Bit of a problem. We'll just get rid of that. And then a little bit of glue. Got bubbles as well. So a few little blobs. What you'll notice is that there's quite a few of the leaves are big enough for you to be able to put foam pads on or use your glue gel. I've been really thinking about that with what I've been doing and talking to the guys that help with all the design and just getting them to understand. In fact, next week we're going to be making cards, and I'm going to get some of the team actually making up some of the designs that they've been working on, because I think it's really good for them to understand more of what you do with everything. So just like this, I've got a bit of glue on my fingers, so I'm just going to have to use the back of my hand so that that sticks down nicely. I'll slide a little bit for me, and then I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of glue there to hold that down, and a tiny little bit there, and hold this down. So some of you sent me in pictures of some of the painting that you've been doing as well. I can't wait for us to get started properly with that. That's going to be amazing. Right, now I've got a few extra leaves and pieces that are part of this collection, and I've also got a little sentiment. So I'm going to put my little sentiment, trying to decide where to put it. I think I'm going to put it here, but I'm going to fill the space at the top, and I'm going to pop that up there, and then I'm going to look and see whether I want some of these extra flowers on here. Just going to look inside. No, I think I'll leave it as it is. I'm going to put my bunny there. I'm so happy with this collection because it's so pretty and it's also very cute. So I need the foam actually on the frame, and I'll put that there, so we're sitting, and because we've got blue here, I want to make it, and I've got blue there and I've got blue there. Now it's not quite the right blue, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to use this, and I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do a little bit of a wavy thing. I'm just going to put that here so that we've got some water and we're not paddling on dry land. So I've just taken off the top of the cloud. Let's take that off. We'll stick that glue might be too low, so let me see if I can get it underneath. Right, so what I'm trying to do now is get it underneath here, and I've got some foam on a roll under there. So I'm just going to roll that back, which you can do, so you can roll it back. Place that there. So just hold of it and make sure it's shaped, which works. Turn this over, trim off that back piece, and how cute is that? So they're riding along in their umbrella with the actual stream at the bottom going past the fields, and I just think it's the cutest little thing. And actually, let's put some friends in the fields. So let me have some bunnies actually in the fields. Actually no, we'll have them having a picnic. Waving to our little friends. And we'll put some, I'll use foam pads, and I'll show you a couple of little tricks. Lift them up with your squares like this with your pokey tool, and what's happening is the backs are coming off at the same time as I'm lifting up. So there they are. Take those off, done. So again, pick up, put down, pick up, put down. This is the important thing. You have to go into the square at an angle, so that when you pick up, I'll just pick one, and you put down, you lift the paper with you. Pick up, put down. oops, a square, there we go. And that is how you do it quickly. So let's just see where the bunnies are going to go. And the hamster, see a little hamster? And there, that's it. And the blue that I've chosen here brings this blue in, because this blue is a little bit off shade, but the blues actually now look a little bit more complementary. I'm actually quite happy with that. I think that works really, really well. Right, I'm going to do one more for you, because I wanted to show you how the elements that you push out look really good and can be used on your cards, but also you can use them to make shaped cards. Now I've got myself in a bit of a pickle here because I've lost my shaped card. Oh. Whoops, I've drawn on it. Oh well, let me explain to you what I've done. So, if you want to do a quick shaped card, I know what, I can do it. I can do this. I can do it. I can make it right. No, I can't. I haven't got the right die. Yes, I have. Right, so let's just go in here. I wanted to show you this because I wanted to show you how, if you want to do shaped cards, you don't have to cut the whole card. You can do it like this. So if I get in here and I go into my card shape, so my frame, right, when you're doing your card shapes, this is what we do, isn't it? We cut it like this, we put this piece over the edge like that, and then once I've cut that, that will stand up, and then I take a full piece and let's look at that, and I put that over the top so that I've got a complete card. But let's say you don't have a lot of card. This is another way of us doing it, and I've just got to work out, because I've now work out where the pattern is needed. So it's up there, otherwise this card's gonna rock. Well, it might rock anyway, but let's have a look. So I'm just looking at my design, so right, I know I've got a better way of doing this. So my die is going to go on there, and it's going to go over the edge, like, it's going to go like that. And I just need to check that. And what I'm doing is I'm just checking it to make sure the piece that I've already got cut will work. So I'm looking at, I need that line and that line there parallel to this top edge. For you, it won't matter, because if you cut this one first, then you just cut the other one complete, and you can just work from that. So a little bit of tape on here and on there. So that's those two pieces. Down on my cutting shim, and I'm just going to cut this out. Now, I know that I look like I'm cutting this the wrong way round, but I want the white on the inside and the beige or the buff colour on the outside, so that's why I'm cutting it this way. So, come on. There we go. So, here is my shape. So that's the back of the card, this is the front. Now I just need to check which way I would have had it lined up, which is like, just looking at making sure I've got it lined up so it's that way up. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trim off some of the bottom, and then I'm going to make a little score line across the top. So to make the score line, I'm actually looking at from here to here along that line, and use a ruler at home, but I'm just going to score it with my pokey tool. And then to get the bottom straight, I'm looking at, keep that one level, there and there. So I know that that line and this line that I've got here is going to be parallel. So I'm just going to cut that. Right, so the one at the bottom gets cut off. So this is, oops, nearly there, is trimmed off. And this one gets folded like that. Okay, so I've got a piece like that. Then you need some red liner tape, which I've got here. And it's not sticky on the end, so I'll get rid of that little bit. So I'm going to have that piece there. Trim that off. And a little piece just here. So when you are scoring this line, consider the width of your liner tape to make sure that you've got enough room there to actually make this hinge, because what we're doing is we're making a hinge. And now, when I now put this on, I'm going to line it up to the side first, directly over the top, like that. Now, that opens up, and there's my card front. So it opens up like that, okay? Now, when you've got a card like this, and you've got a pointy bit at the bottom, a curve, I'm just going to go in and take the very tip of that curve off, because that's the bit that is going to make my card slide, and it holds together much better. Right, so now we've got our flowers to go on top. So let's look at those. I need, where are you? Let me think where I'm going to look. I seem to, from when I start making the designs to when I actually do these bits, it's easy to forget which bit goes where. So there we go, that's that bit. And then I've got this piece, and this is the piece that was the waist, but I've actually got a little pattern on it. And so I've printed it out from one of the backing papers and then just inked the edge. And you can see it makes quite a big difference. So look at it without, and then look at it with. It sort of really does bring the design to life. So I actually do want that piece on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line that one up first with this, which I'm happy with. Take that wreath away, and then just lift this panel with my poker tool. That's a good idea. And the glue here. Now I've got some tape on the back of this, because that glue is going to take a moment or two to set. So I'm just going to use the tape to hold that in place. And while it's holding in place, I can then get right to the tip of the pieces that I've got, the little pieces that are overhanging like this, and the rest of it I can use my tape for. So that gives me a good proper finish, and it'll stick really well. So there we go, that's that. And now I'm ready to put my wreath back on. So I can just check my wreath, which fits there like that. And I want to lift this up and put this on some foam. So I'm going to use foam rather than, what am I going to use foam? Yes, I'm going to use foam, and let's use our little pads. We'll do what we did earlier. So we'll pick a few of these, and so I'm just going to get you positioned, just one flower. Right, now I need that leaf there, and then I need that flower there. You see how you can just work your way around there. Now, what I don't do is go all the way around one way and then find it doesn't quite fit. Come back and do a couple of flowers the other way. So you're working in both directions, because that will make it easier. Oops. So I'm just going to get that one put down. Then I'm going to go back, and I've got a little leaf here. I'll put you down, and then I'm going to come back again, and there's another little one there, and then here. So I've got more control now because I can be pushing it into place. You can see it's over the edge here, but I can actually push that back, and I've got an equal amount either side to divide. Have you ever done sewing where you've sewn a really, really long strip of something, and you get to the end and the two ends don't meet, and you've got a little bit too much of one side of the fabric? That is what would happen if I didn't just spread this out a little bit and just take control of making sure I've got the elements all in the right place. You can see how it's starting to go together better. So I need to lift you. Let's put you a little pad there. I need to get you in place. I'm going to need a slightly smaller pad for that, so let's look at where else I need one. Right, I need some smaller pads now. So with these, it's really easy. You just literally snip into the pads. Oops, just snip a few more. There we go. Like that. So I've got half squares now, which are perfect for this. So I need one there. I'll just take that off. I do like doing this with you and doing it in real time because it makes it much more fun, and you see everything. There's no shortcuts. I'm not sort of, you know, saying, oh, here's one I did earlier. I'm trying to do as much of it in real time as possible, because if I was on air, I wouldn't have time to explain to you about, you know, when you're sticking your flowers down, make sure you go in both directions, because it evens the tension of on the paper, and you get a better result, because we just are always in such a rush. But you can see here how this is actually bringing the design together much, much better and much, much more evenly. So I'm going to just catch that little leaf there with this one. Just want you to be, I think it's that side I can't get. I'm just going to lift that up. Put it there, it's better. And that gives me my card front like that. And now I'm ready to put my design in the middle. So I'm checking where is the line. So I'm looking at this, putting that to the bottom of my mat so that when I build my picture, I'm building it straight. So now I need to decide what I'm going to put in here. Am I going to put my bunnies that are all making daisy chains? Am I going to put my bear there with the little trumpet? Am I going to use my little bunny there? Am I going to have my fox here, my bunny and my fox inside? I love this one, so I'm going to use this. And it's going to get a little bit of shape on here. And then I'm going to use the foam squares again. So I'll put small squares on his feet, single squares. I'm going to put a couple on bunny, but in the middle I'm actually going to put three. I'm going to put three together. I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to lift the backs off them, and then I'm going back and I'm putting another 3, and then that one. So I've gone double height in the middle, which then, just double check my card's moved, which is a good job I did check because it swiveled round. So the bear would have looked like he was falling over. And I'm going to put that there. And what you'll notice is I didn't put any on his nose, so his nose just naturally touches the card. His paws are just a tiny bit up, but his tummy is a tiny bit more, and the bunny, I've just managed to stick the bunny down and I've just pressed that close to the back, and there is my second one. So what we're doing is we're learning about shape and dimension, but we're also learning how to maximise the frames that you get in your sets, because quite often we don't do enough with them, and we don't make the dies work hard enough. So this is Pinewood Party. Right, so I'm just going to now put together for you a card which I said I would do from the Peaceful Picture Decoupage, and I just want to quickly do this. I hope everybody's all right for time. If you're not, I know some of you have to dip in and out. If you're not, please don't worry. Well, I can't see if you've gone anyway, can I? It's just one of those things. But I do really appreciate everybody doing this, and I keep checking to see if you're all right afterwards as well, and checking what people are saying and all of those kinds of things. Right, what I've got here is a really pretty charisma, and these are so delicate, these dies. They look good, they've got all the right kinds of detail in them, and they really look effective. Now I'm going to try and make this go wrong. So I'm going to take off my magnetic shim, and I'm going to put this down, and I'm hoping with all that detail on the die that this won't cut, so I can show you something. So let's see what happens while that's going through. I'm going to just quickly cut this. Yeah, it's gone wrong. Right, so this is what happens when your shims aren't right. Or you've got a very dense die, or you've got very warm plates. So can you see here, it really hasn't cut. It's cut on the edges, but this bit of it hasn't cut. Some of it's because my plate's a bit warped. So if I put this down flat, you'll see how it's just not flat. Look, that bit's turned up, then it's on that side, rocks. It just isn't flat. So you can do a number of different things. You can use your magnetic shims, that makes a huge difference. You can use cut tidy, absolutely brilliant. But the old-fashioned way of doing this was to create your own shims. Now, what happens is that you've got a piece of card here, and if I put this whole piece of card over the top, all I'm going to be dealing with is I'm going to end up with a complete shim, and it wouldn't cut. Let's say you've got a stubborn bit, just one little bit that won't cut. It won't cut that piece. But I'm going to do two things. I'm going to show you what happens when it is not quite right, and once it's perfect. Right, we call this patch shimming. So I'm only going to put the shim on the piece that I need to cut. So that piece. This piece is torn. This piece has got a straight edge to it. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to show you what happens. So don't put the shim over the whole piece. Use cut tidy if you've got cut tidy. If you haven't got it, get it, because that will never happen. And if you've got magnetic shims, absolutely brilliant. But if you've run out of cut tidy and you haven't got magnetic shims, then this is how you put it right. And what we do is this. And so I tore one piece and I didn't tear the other. So also, this is another thing that sometimes you have to try and watch out for. Can you see here that I've got the texture of the plate actually embossed on my piece of card? Now, if that's happening, and let's say you're making wedding invitations, you don't want the wrong side to look like that. You put a piece of photocopy paper over the top of it. It will protect your work. So here, where I've used my shim, where I've used my straight line, you can actually see that straight line in the design. Whereas here, where I've used it and I've torn it away, there's no line. So even if this piece had cut, or this piece had cut, and then I'd put my shim on, that line would have shown on my work. So don't let that happen at home. Use a patch shim, it makes all the difference. So I'm just going to put that on there, and I've got a little one there that needs it. I'm just going to run this back through on those 2 pieces that missed. So get you in there, and off you go. And when you're building your decoupage, I know that you're putting the layers one on top of each other, and we're looking at it, and remember the roses, you look at the ones at the front that you can hold, then the ones you have to reach to touch, and then the ones that are at the back. That's the perspective that we're building. And so what I've got here, I'm just going to take these off so we can see they're perfect. I've got 2 pieces, and I've got a full bouquet and a little piece of decoration for the actual hydrangea. The other thing that I do is I look on the outside for any of the island pieces that we want to just pop out. So there's 3 little pieces there that just need popping out here. What you'll also notice is that the petals, some of the petals have got little cuts in them and little bits of shape. That is to break the fibres on the cardstock so that when you do this, it doesn't crinkle. So what it does is it opens up the flowers. So look at how it's opened them up rather than crinkled. If I get a piece of card like this, about the same size, and I start to do this, what happens is I start to get crinkles, because it's like snipping in to go round a corner after and turning something after you've been sewing. These little crinkles need to go somewhere. These little lines absorb all those crinkles. I'm going to take this one out and get out the little islands. So there's one there, 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 there. It's just a few of them. It's quite therapeutic doing this. I really enjoy it. And then I've got a few here. This is what makes the design look lighter and better finished and better quality. And that's all of them. Right, now let's open up some of these flowers. So I'm going to open you up there and open some of these up here. I'm going to go in the direction of the petals for the big ones, and just a little bit of curve in there. Right, so now what I've got now is a really pretty piece of decoupage. I would be putting 2 foam pads on top of each other here, 1 under here, 2 under here, 1 here, and 2 under here. So what you're going to do is you're going to get it to curve as you actually go. Then, when I put this piece of decoupage over the top, you can see it's quite a large piece. So you've got a couple of choices. We can use it exactly as it is, or I can cut into it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut into this one. And so I'm going to just go round, and I'm just following the little lines of this flower. I'm just literally following it, and I can feel the pips just cutting as I snip. So as I'm snipping, I can feel those little pips cut in. And this is just another little thing. Right, so get a piece of lavender card. I'm just going to put this on here so you can see what you do. So remember, we go to our foam and we want 2, we'll do 3 in a line, 2 high, 3 in a line, and then we go 2 high. 1, oops, back in on that. That's where the dog gets covered in them. And then here, I want, where did I go? I want 1 there, I want 1 there. I'm going to put 2 there on top of each other, and I'm going to put 2 here on top of each other. Just get that little pad out, turn you over, there, oops, it's flipped over all by itself. get you off. So now it doesn't want to play, so we'll go even higher. Okay, so now when I press this down, so that's going to be quite raised, that's going to be quite flat, that's going to be quite raised, that's going to be quite flat, and that's going to be quite raised. So I can feel, so I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on here because I want it completely flat. So you're going to go down there. So you can now see the undulations. It's a good word, isn't it? I hold it up, you can sort of see how it shapes. Then with this piece, I'm going to go with one layer of foam on this, and then I'm going to line that up. There it is, like that. Okay, and so I've still got a bit of dimension to it, but on this one, oops, let's put going 3. So I'm actually now, and I'm just going to tease it over the edge like that. There we go. So now you can actually see how this at the front is higher and it's leaning back into this piece, which is higher than that piece, which then goes down, which comes up, which goes down, which comes up. And you can get, it's quite addictive when you do it, because when you look at it now from a distance, you can see more dimension. And that is why the decoupage and the flowers are just not only so popular, but they look so amazing. I just need to say thank you to everybody for your company again. It's been absolutely amazing. I'm sorry I won't be there at 6 o'clock tomorrow, but do you know what? It doesn't matter because we know where to get it from, don't we? So we don't have to tell anybody that it's a bit of a secret. But if you want to get a little Pinewood party, and I give both of these away, or when I'm going to do a giveaway as well, then it's on Create and Craft, and we'll put the item number on so you can get that too. Okay, thank you everyone. See you next week.